In the UK, 10,000 patients are awaiting an organ transplant. Of these 10,000 patients, every year 1,000 people will die waiting, and in some cases patients can expect to wait up to an average of 4 years. 2/3 of the population aren't listed on the organ donor register. In 2005, Holly Shaw, a student from Warrington, visited her GP after suffering flu-like symptoms, but nothing could have prepared her for the news that her doctor gave her.
It was in 2005 and I was diagnosed with kidney failure, like completely out of the blue. It was a huge shock. I just went to the doctor feeling a bit rough. I was 17, it wasn't a hangover. I just had like routine blood tests and my blood pressure taken. They found it was sky high for a person of my age, and I was basically told that I'd need to go to hospital straight away and there was something wrong with me. Up until that point I just thought I've got a sickness bug or something, and then this doctor walked in, they did a scan on my kidneys, and then they just said, right, you'll need a transplant. You'll have to go on dialysis straight away the next day and you'll need a transplant in the future. So the next day I was put straight on dialysis. Firstly they inserted like a line into my neck, so it's like a plastic tube, and the blood would come out of the one tube, go around the dialysis machine, and my blood was like filtered and cleaned to make sure that it was pure so that it would go back in, and basically that would happen 3 times a week for 4 hours at a time. It changed my life completely. I couldn't eat what I wanted, I couldn't drink what I wanted. I was only allowed to drink 500 mils of fluid a day, of anything. But it was the only thing that would keep me alive until the transplant was available. Of course there was down days, but mostly I was positive and I had a positive mental attitude, but luckily for me I was waiting for a kidney transplant, and the dialysis could keep me alive until a transplant became available. For people that are waiting for heart transplants or lung transplants or even liver transplants, they don't have that luxury of dialysis. It's a matter of life and death. Well, I knew that I wasn't immediately, my life wasn't compromised immediately because of the dialysis, so that was a positive thing.
In 2008 came the call Holly had been waiting for.
It was just a normal, ordinary afternoon. I was out with my dad and he was helping me get my windscreen wiper fitted. And then a phone call came through on my mobile and it said unknown number. And I just thought it was a call centre or a cold caller. And I picked it up and it was the transplant coordinator from the Liverpool hospital saying that they had a kidney that might be suitable for me and to get to the hospital straight away. Everything went into a blur and I couldn't really talk on the phone. I was crying and hysterical, so I passed the phone to my dad and he spoke to the lady and we decided what we were going to do and what because it was a dialysis day, so that I needed dialysis before I went to the hospital. So it was all organised and basically went home and got ready, packed my bag, because usually you're meant to have a bag packed ready to go to the hospital, but I never did, I'm not that organised. So went home, packed my bag, packed useless things like straighteners and makeup that I wouldn't really need, and then we went straight to the hospital for dialysis. And then obviously the tests took place. They did cross-matching and blood testing, so some of the donor's blood was mixed with my blood to see if there was a reaction. And obviously if there's no reaction, then that's a positive sign, and that the kidney was suitable for me and the transplant went ahead. As soon as it was over, obviously I was in a bit of a daze for a few days, and it took me a while to come round properly. The kidney didn't start working straight away, and I had to have dialysis after my transplant for a couple of sessions afterwards. So I thought that it wasn't going to work. So I was a bit downhearted at first, but then the doctors reassured me that this was relatively normal and that things would get better. And 3 weeks later, I was discharged from hospital, and I was absolutely fine. Obviously, lots of hospital checkups and stuff like that, and lots of tablets to take. But no, I was absolutely fine, and I was back to university about 8 weeks later. Obviously, it was a struggle, but my tutors were really supportive, and my friends were always there for me. So they just sent me work home, and I obviously couldn't meet all the deadlines, and I couldn't keep up with the work, but they were really helpful, sent all the work home, and I did a lot from home. Luckily, my dialysis sessions were in the evening, so all my lectures were during the day, and if I was able to attend lectures, I went to the lectures during the day. and my dialysis would be from say 5 till 9 at night.
Holly didn't just want to be a patient waiting for an organ, she wanted to help raise awareness.
So when I was diagnosed, I didn't want to just sit back and just let it all wash over me. I'm very much a get up and go person, so I started reading on the internet. Sometimes it isn't the best thing Googling health conditions, but I was reading up on the internet and found this charity, and they supported me whilst I was waiting for a transplant. This was back in 2006, and they immediately wanted me on board with the charity, and I was firstly an advocate for them, basically doing talks and educating people about organ donation up and down the country. And then they asked me to become a trustee in February of last year, and I basically just do what they want me to do. Basically, I come up with new fundraising ideas. I've abseiled down a lighthouse, which I'm never doing again because it was terrifying. I've helped organise fundraising concerts, talks up and down the country, talks in hospitals to professionals, because not all professionals not all nurses are educated about organ donation, as well as educating the general public. We need to educate the professionals as well from a patient's perspective. There's lots of projects going on with Live Life at the minute, and I'm just basically supporting them in what they do and promoting organ donation awareness and getting people to sign the organ donor register. Okay, so this is Live Life and Give Life's website. I'm a trustee for the charity, so I help with the day-to-day running of the charity and organising events and raising awareness about organ donation. Its mission statement is to save and improve the lives of all those in need or receipt of an organ and tissue transplants. The charity exists to improve education and awareness of organ donation and to fund projects that increase the numbers of successful transplants in the UK. Obviously we're taking advantage of all the social networking sites with Twitter, Facebook and Bebo, and you can sign up to the organ donor register.
In the same year for treatment, Holly was accepted to appear in Channel 4's series Battlefront.
Battlefront encourages young people to shout about something that they believe in, and I entered a competition. It was in September 2008. I entered the competition to produce a documentary about something that I believed in. I didn't think I'd win. I had to write 150 words about what I wanted to campaign about and what I wanted to change in the world. And the public voted for me, my friends voted for me, and basically I was the judge's choice, and I won a place on the Battlefront team. And actually the week of my transplant that's when I found out that I'd won. So I immediately started stressing that I wouldn't be able to do it because I'd just had the major operation. But it turned out okay. And basically they just filmed me constantly for about 6 months, following my journey from transplant back to normal life, back to uni. I went to London, I was on GMTV, they filmed me on GMTV, and it all culminated in something called Donor Day, and basically I had desks, stands up and down the country asking people to sign the organ donor register on one particular day, and we managed to get 3,600 people signed up on one day. The Prime Minister heard about it, he got in contact with me, and basically I've not looked back since. I've met the Prime Minister, I've met so many amazing people through the opportunity that I had through Battlefront and the charity as well. So no, it's been a great experience. So because I was obviously in hospital when I found out that I'd won Battlefront, a good friend of mine, Emily Thackeray, stepped in to help me. Emily is 26 and she's had a double lung transplant. And basically she knew me very well and she knew that I wanted to be part of this competition, but I couldn't, obviously, because I was in hospital. So she set up the campaign, set up the main initiative of what we wanted to achieve, and basically she was there holding my hand all the way through the 6 months. So she only knows too well that if she wouldn't be here if someone hadn't signed the organ donor register, so she knew how important it was to her, to me and to all the people on the transplant waiting list.
In 2010, her campaigning received the recognition it deserved when she won the V Inspired Award at the O2 Arena.
So after all the Battlefront stuff and working for the charity, my university actually nominated me for a national volunteering award. Didn't think I had any chance of winning. It was a campaigning award, and there was lots of other people in the category that were doing amazing things. I went down to London I just was going for the party and the free food. So I went down to London, met loads of really nice people, and the award ceremony happened, and it turns out that I did win. which was great. I got a nice little trophy, and the charity got £1,000 from the sponsorship, so that was a good thing. And basically, I didn't really understand why I won it. I mean, I was just doing what I wanted to do. It wasn't anything special. Basically, I think people haven't signed the organ donor register because they're scared. Death is still a taboo subject. They don't want to think about their own mortality and when they're going to die. They don't want to think about their body being disfigured after their death and things like that. There's also serious reasons that people think it's against their religion, but there's education out there to prove that it's not against the main religions in Britain. People, they're just not educated about it. They're just not aware. If it hasn't affected them personally, then they're just not aware of the organ donor register and why people need transplants. They don't understand that literally signing the organ donor register takes 2 minutes and that they could save someone's life.
Educating more. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I do know about it, but I think that like if something came through my door and it was there and the option was there ready to do it, I'd just do it. Whereas, because I've got to like not be lazy, but make the effort to find the time, and everyone's busy, just not doing it.
I mean, there's no reason realistically why I'm not. I mean, it's something that, when people speak to me in the past, it's not something I've sort of chosen not to do. It's just something I've properly thought about.
I wouldn't say anything. It's their choice. My choice is because of my sister, but their choice is. You hear a lot of horror stories from hospitals and things, so I wouldn't hold it against them at all. It's everybody's choice, really.
I'd just maybe ask them how would they feel if they needed a transplant at some point in their lives, because nobody knows what's going to happen. So therefore, I think if they did get ill and they'd never been an organ donor, I think they should be put to the back of the list if they've said that they didn't want to do it in the first place.
Contrary to what Holly believes, while not necessarily being on the register themselves, everyone interviewed stated that they weren't on it because they simply had yet to get around to doing it. Everyone interviewed agreed that people should be put on the organ donation register by default, meaning that they should have to actively remove their name from the register rather than adding to it.
It's really important that people sign the organ donor register. I mean, I've lost a really close friend who was only 20 when she died because people haven't thought about signing the organ donor register. There's young people out there waiting for transplants, and people should think about it. Stop being selfish and think about their own mortality for 2 minutes. People on the transplant waiting list are facing their own mortality every single day. If you're waiting for a lung transplant, you've only got a 50-50 chance of getting that transplant. 50% of people will get the transplant and 50% of people will die waiting for the transplant. 1,000 people a year die waiting for an organ transplant. That's three people a day die waiting. So I think people should stop for a minute and think about if it was them, would they be happy to receive a transplant? If they were happy to have their life saved by a transplant, then I think they should be willing to sign the organ donor register and give that hope and that chance to someone else.